the second of 3 videos that are going to deal with the idea of note-taking. This one's called Writing It Down. This is a follow-up to the first video, which you've hopefully already watched, called Active Listening. So just really quickly, same overview as in the previous video. Note-taking is a way for you to record what's going on in class, both things your instructor writes on the board and things he or she says. It's an active learning process. It's something that engages you in listening, selecting, organizing information, and then recording it. The whole process is designed to help you comprehend and retain material that you are learning in your mathematics course. The hardest part about it is that compromise between listening and writing things down. It doesn't really do you a lot of good just to sit back and listen and watch what's going on the board and never take a note. And it also doesn't really do you a lot of good to try to write down absolutely everything that's put on the board and everything that is said. You have to find some kind of balance between those two things, giving you an opportunity to listen actively and learn while you're listening, but at the same time write down those things that are most important and that you will need later as you continue the learning process. So you'll notice with lots of things we talk about this semester that we'll have before class, during class, and or after class strategies. For the actual writing down part of taking notes before class, it's a good idea to review your previous notes, remember where you were last, and especially look for things that you either missed, didn't hear, didn't manage to write down, or failed to completely understand. It's also a good idea to look at homework problems that pertain to the last lecture and be ready to ask questions about those things and record the answers. You may also want to ask questions about anything that you missed or didn't understand in the actual note-taking process as well. And of course, you want to make sure that you have the proper tools available: pencil, paper, and anything else you might need to take good notes. During class, you want to use main ideas to help organize information. Main ideas can come from your instructor, things written on the board, things he or she says. They can also come from having previewed information in your textbook prior to the lecture. Even if you stop understanding what's going on, don't stop taking notes. Those notes are important, and they will help you gain understanding somewhere along the line in the learning process. Put a question mark by those things that either you miss, just don't get a chance to write down, or that you don't understand, and then leave some space so you can fill those things in later, and it's important to go through that process. Finally, once again, make sure that you have the proper tools out and ready to go. In this case, things to write with, paper to write on, and the appropriate kind of paper, whether it's lined paper or graph paper, and anything else that you think you might need. Colored pencils, highlighters, whatever it is that you like to use. After class, it's a good idea to read through your notes. That's a way to review them and edit them. Fix mistakes, add in things that you've missed, and potentially fix things that you didn't understand. Anything that's unclear or hard to read, you may actually want to go and rewrite. I've known people that learn a lot from the process of rewriting their notes, and the sooner you get to rewriting them after the lecture, the more the lecture is still in your memory and the easier it is to do. Again, if there are any gaps, you should fill them in. You may need to talk to your instructor to do this, get help from the math lab, look at your textbook, talk to your fellow students. Lots of different ways to do this, but make sure it gets done. And add any additional notes that you might want to add. You don't have to keep to just the notes you take in the classroom. Those things are one piece of the notes you're taking for the course, and there's nothing wrong with continuing to add on to them and make them better as time goes on. Anything you didn't understand and that you left space for, make sure that you find time to learn about those things. Again, instructor, fellow students, math lab textbook, videos on the internet, whatever it is that works for you. Keep listening for those instructor cues. We talked a bit about those in the last video. And you might want to develop a system for capturing them in your notes. Come up with symbols. The instructor repeated this, or there was a big pause before this, or He said this was important for the test. You can come up with a symbol system, whatever works for you, stars or smiley faces or hearts or something that mean that these things are important. You may want to use a highlighter, use special colors. You may want to record those instructor cue type notes in a special area of your notes, separate from just the regular main notes that you're keeping of a lecture. When taking notes, it's generally a good idea that you have some kind of a system, and your note-taking system may look different for different types of courses. Examples of note-taking systems include 2-column methods, 3-column methods, what are called hierarchical methods, more of just an outlining kind of process, graphic organizers. There are more. If you want more information on any of these, look in your course packet or take a look at the internet. We're specifically going to talk about the column methods because they tend to work very well in math courses. But ultimately, method is something that's a very personal decision. It has to work for you. There is no one method of note-taking that works for everybody. And just because math courses tend to lend themselves well to multiple column methods doesn't mean that in the end is what will work best for you. So you may have to experiment a little bit. Don't be afraid to, and try to figure out what works best for you. So column methods generally come in 2 or 3 columns, and you have to prepare those columns before class. Your columns will have specific headings. They may have some specific ideas from this list. They may have a combination of ideas from this list, or they may have other names that you have yourself. But you may want to have a column in which you put down topics, or a column for supporting details, keywords, rules, comments, questions, examples, vocabulary words, definitions, some combination of these items. You don't want a lot of columns, just 2 or 3, but you want to make sure that you're collecting specific types of information in each one of those columns. Some columns will have lots of blank space in them. Other columns will be very full depending on what it is that you choose to record in them. When you are keeping notes in columns, you want to make sure that your information stays organized horizontally so that reading across everything goes together. Most of your notes are going to go in a supporting details or an examples or an explanation kind of a column. Topics or keywords and rules can be added after class if you need them. Again, you don't have to take all of your notes in class. You can take enough of what you can get, and then you can go and add more things on later. Even main ideas are something that you may be able to add in later to a system where you've already captured a lot of the details and examples and things. You want to try to capture examples and a brief explanation of each step. Those are really useful things to capture. If your instructor's taking the time to write it on the board, they're telling you it's important. And do your best to capture graphs, charts, and tables. You might want to have graph paper available for that purpose. You may even want to use graph paper for all of your notes. When you do miss something, and you will miss something eventually, leave some space so you can fill it in later. Get help filling it in if you need that help. Put a mark by things you miss or don't understand and leave space. Those marks will help you find the places where you missed something or misunderstood something and where those space and gaps are so that you can find them easily later when you go to fill them in. And never stop taking notes. If you don't understand something, keep taking notes as best you can. Plan on returning to that area later, probably rewriting those notes in a way that you better understand. Briefly in summary, note-taking is a process that begins before class, happens during class, and continues after class. It involves not only writing things down, but also active listening. And it requires you to compromise between just listening and trying to write everything down, trying to find some balance between those two things.